Hello again, Travis here with the Unnamed Seed. So check out the gardens behind me. They are protected by a deer fence that is cheap, beautiful, and actually effective. So I have discovered a technique that makes the traditional fishing line deer fence actually work. So let's take a closer look at the garden and then I'll show you how to make one for yourself. So again, the promise is cheap, beautiful, and effective. So let's start with cheap. I spent less than $50 to construct this entire fence. That's because I already had the T-post, but even if you had to purchase the T-post, this fence would be much cheaper than your alternatives. Now, beauty. Beauty, of course, is in the eye of the beholder, but this fence in most lighting conditions is practically invisible. And even when you can see the fence, it doesn't provide any visual barrier to your enjoyment of the garden. Now, finally, and most importantly, let me show you the secret technique that makes this deer fence much more effective than all the other fishing line deer fences. All right, so we're getting into the gravy now. So if you weren't paying attention before, now's time to start. So get your fishing string, go out and buy some fishing line, make sure that it's monofilament, and you want it to be 30-pound tensile strength or greater. So that's very important that it's 30-pound or greater. That's good for two reasons. That's important for two reasons. One, that strength allows us to stretch that line over a greater distance so that we don't have to use so many T-posts, which makes it look a lot better, I think. And then also, if a deer starts to push into it, obviously we don't want the line to break. So it's got to be strong for that reason also. So that is key. Another thing that I want to point out is I would recommend, if you can find it, to get the green string. So I actually got this by accident, and I was worried that it would be more visible. But if you have a lot of grass around the garden and greenery, that green color blends in even more and the fence looks even more invisible if you get this green color. Now, the next thing I'll show you is the construction of the fence and some key points there to make this effective. All right, so this is something incredible about the construction of this fence. Look at the T-post on the far right here. So the fishing line extends all the way over to this T-post that is right there. So that's about 60 feet. That's why it's important to get that strong fishing line to keep a nice taut line. And we'll go look at it closer. The lines are not even sagging, and this fence has been up for a couple of months now. So let's take a closer look. All right, so we're a little closer now so you can see how things are attached. Nothing fancy whatsoever there, just tied some overhand knots, and then extend the fishing line over to the other T-post. Make it nice and tight. Wrap it around the T-post first and then tie your knots so that you can maintain the tension. So I added all of my horizontal lines first, but then I noticed that if you stretch them out, you can extend them about 6 feet very easily between even horizontal lines that are only a few inches apart. So if you pull them, you can make a big passageway for a large animal to pass. So then I came up with what I think is the secret to the effectiveness of this fence, and that is your vertical lines. So with the addition of these vertical lines that I tied here, you create essentially a spider web or a kind of net. And that way, if the animal runs into it, it's got a lot more strength to it, the entire fencing, and they can't separate the horizontal line, so there aren't any big holes to pass through. All right, now you have the secret to make a cheap, easy, beautiful fence like this one to keep the deer out of your garden. So quickly, I just want to go over the basics so that this is clear and so that you can replicate the success that I've had. So number one, you want to start with monofilament fishing line, 30-pound strength or greater. Then you want to get that home to your garden, put in your T-post on the corner of your garden, stretch out that monofilament line and make horizontal lines first. and you want to put them close together, about 10 inches apart or closer. Then you're going to tie your vertical strands along each one of the cross points of the horizontal lines. And you want to put a vertical strand about every 10 feet. And then as far as the height of the fence, you can see that this is not even 5 feet tall. So it doesn't need to be very tall. And I think that the reason this works is because the deer can't see it very well. So when they bump into it, it startles them, it spooks them out. It feels like nothing they've ever bumped into, this kind of fishing line spider web here, this netting that they start to get trapped in. And they cannot easily judge the height of the fence. So because they can't see it clearly, they're afraid that they won't clear it, and they're afraid to jump it. So that's my kind of speculation about why this fence works in general, and also why the height can be so low and still be effective. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to the channel. I'll have more information like this, and also lots of information about landrace gardening and saving your own seeds. I'm even starting a seed store, so check down below for information about my new seed store. Soon I will have landrace cucumbers and winter squash. So check that out, and I'll see you soon. Also, this is the gate. So this is how people are able to access the garden. I just construct the fence like I would anywhere else. I run the horizontal and vertical lines to a T-post here, the green one, and then I can open the gate up, and then I can lay it down on its side. So that's how you access the garden.